So there's a lot of internal dialogue all the time, and this is what is disturbing peace. This is what is disturbing peace, you know, this constant internal dialogue. And there's an idea that somehow that needs to be resolved. We must make it better. We must, find a way to change the dialogue and make it all nice, and that is what will result in happiness. So we keep running around within that dialogue, thinking about things and trying to find solutions and trying to grasp out at things outside of ourselves based on that internal dialogue. We try and reach out to things, that chase things, avoid things. Constant pushing and pulling, all based on these words that we're spinning around in our mind all the time. But it's the dialogue that's the problem. It's the internal dialogue that's the problem. This constant story you've got going around in your mind all the time is itself the problem, and there is no solution to it. There's absolutely no solution to the internal dialogue apart from realising that it actually holds no power over you. You don't need to be fiddling around with it. You don't need to be playing with it. You don't need to be fixing it. You don't need to be listening to it. Your thinking process is an evolutionary development of the mind that's to help us problem solve and move through our lives. It's not supposed to be something you consume yourself with self-talk with, It's not supposed to be something you're like, oh, well, me, and what is that? And my feelings, and my emotions, and I don't like him, and my heart's broken. It's not supposed to be that, This is something you've manufactured within yourself. It's supposed to be something that arises when there's a problem to create some kind of logic and analysis to create a solution. The problem is that you've decided life's a problem. The problem is that you've decided lots of things are a problem when they're actually not. So your brain is firing off these solutions to the point where it's become so confusing and hectic in your mind doesn't know whether it's coming or going, So the only solution to this is to realise there is no problem with things. There's no problem with life. You don't have to resist things. You don't have to grasp hold of things and cling on to things, You have to come to this deep acceptance of life, the flow of life, as it happens, birth, death, and everything in between. And this causes the narrative to rest. If you find that you have got caught in internal dialogue, your mind is consumed, Sometimes some psychotherapy is great. Sometimes doing some inner work is good for a time. But really the solution to it and the transcendence of it is very much that. It's a transcendence of that dynamic. You transcend the story of the mind, It isn't that it all of a sudden resolves itself. And often I speak to a lot of people that do a lot of spiritual work, and they've done a lot of inner work on themselves, and they're struggling with all these issues that they've had for this many years, and how they worked on forgiveness, and they've worked on non-judgment, and they've worked on how they feel about themselves and their confidence and all of these things. And what they don't realise is after a while, actually trying to fix them and playing with them all the time keeps them alive. It keeps them in existence. It actually keeps them in existence. It's how they sustain themselves. Sometimes we might feel that we're forgiving and we're in a state of non-judgment, and we've done the inner work on ourselves and we have confidence, and that's one aspect, and then all of a sudden we experience the opposite, where we don't have any of those things, where we go back into insecurity, and strength gives way to weakness, and forgiveness gives way to hatred and bitterness. While you're constantly playing with the inner turmoil of the mind and doing the inner work and all of these kind of things, while you're constantly telling yourself stories all the time, you're going to manifest that, you're going to exist as that. So what we're doing with this teaching is very much liberating ourselves from this, by realising the actuality of the mind, realising what the actual nature of the mind is. Because what you're doing is telling yourself lots of stories about yourself and how weak you are and how you don't forgive and how you're upset and how you're bitter and how you need to work through your anger and how you need to do this and how you're like this and I need to resolve this and here's my trauma and all of these things. You're telling yourself lots of stories about yourself, but what I'm suggesting is that they don't add up to the actuality of who you are. You're not angry. You might be experiencing anger, but the one who's experiencing it is itself not angry. You might have intense grief. It might be an experience that's arising, but the one to whom that experience is arising is itself not consumed by that grief. What you do in meditation is you're looking into this actuality of the mind, and all you find is simple awareness. You're already, by your own nature, liberated from all of the things that you think are troubling you. You're already liberated from the things that you're trying to liberate yourself from. Nothing can actually affect the underlying nature of your mind. It simply is what it is. But if we don't realise the underlying nature of our mind, if we don't realise the underlying nature of consciousness beyond our thoughts, then all these emotions, all these feelings have too much power over us. We become enslaved to them. So the remedy is self-knowledge, self-realisation, a realisation of the underlying nature of the mind. And this is how we do it. We sit and we rest and we watch and we look into the mind. You'll hear me talk about all sorts of things throughout the week. You can throw everything out that I say if you want, but turn into your mind and look. That's the only thing you walk away with from this week, or from however long you've spent here, or are spending here. It's just to turn in and look. You're running through your life. I'm angry, I'm sad, I think, I this, I that, I'm the other. You never look into that one. You never sit and look into the nature of your mind. It's a terrible, 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 terrible mistake. You've made a catastrophic error in your judgment, believing yourself to be your thoughts, that is you, that is who you are. Your thoughts are something that comes, and they're something that go. They come and they go, they come and they go. Your emotions the same. They're not who you are, they're the content of your experience. The actuality of your mind is really a unfindable, ungraspable sense of consciousness, and a beingness, perhaps, for the want of a better word, in which all of this is arising, this whole drama arising in this pure sense of consciousness within the mind. All the grief, all the sadness, all the joy, all the happiness, all the anger, all the resolution, all the forgiveness, all the bitterness and hatred, all of these things are arising within that. And none of them have any impact on it, just as the clouds cannot impact the sky. Clouds burst into life from nowhere and they go back into nowhere. And what do they leave when they go? Not a trace. And it's the same thing with all these things that are arising in your mind. You don't have to be terrified of what's arising in your mind. You do not have to be scared by your emotions. You do not have to be scared by your thoughts. You do not have to be scared by your feelings. You do not have to be scared by your experiences. Because you're already, by your own very nature, self-liberated from them. Your mind is clear consciousness in which all things are arising. It's very, 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 very important to understand that, because this is where you take refuge. In Buddhism they talk about taking refuge. Taking refuge. This is ultimately where we take refuge, is in the essence, the nature of our own mind. Its stability. Utterly stable. It's utterly stable. As I'm sitting here talking to you now, whether you agree with my words, whether you don't agree with my words, whether you're confused, whether you have clarity, you're aware of what I'm saying. And there's nothing you can do about being aware of what I'm saying. By default, you're aware because it's your nature to be aware. Your nature is awareness. It's not something you have to cultivate or manufacture. It's not something that can be lost. It's not something that can be garnered or gained. And it's not something that can be affected by anything. Utter stability. Your mind is utter stability. You're profoundly safe. You're profoundly stable. Whatever disaster you've cooked up in your head, Doesn't matter, ultimately. Because it really doesn't impact the underlying nature of the mind. Realising this allows you the freedom to experience things. People think that when I'm talking about, the fact that we're not affected by grief and sadness and joy and happiness and all those things, they think it's a rejection of those things initially. But if I'm not affected to them, will I not feel anything? No, you'll feel everything more deeply because you will allow yourself to. Because you know ultimately, I can feel these things. I can be the container for all of these emotions. It's fine. You can open yourself up to the fullness of life, to deep suffering, to great joy, because you understand they're just coming and going, because you've realised the base nature of the mind. So this is what we're doing with this practice, realising the underlying nature of the mind, becoming the ocean and not getting too caught up with the waves, The deep ocean, what kind of a shit does it give about what's going on the surface? It doesn't even know. Well, there's an aspect of your being that is like the deep ocean. But it's the lack of awareness of that means that the waves on the surface, the storms and then the calm, and the storms and then the calm are perceived as something so impactful, so alarming, so distressing, But if you contact this deep, deep part of yourself, this stable, quiet, calm place within yourself, then it doesn't matter what's going on. You can be open to it all. So we go in in our own experience and we look. What you're looking for, what I'm talking about here, it may sound like something far off. You may be thinking, how do I find this? How do I understand what he's talking about? This sounds all right. I'd like to go there. You're already there. I can't give you what you already are. You're already there. That's how you're aware of the sound of my voice. The sensations in your body. The aches and pains in your body. Effortlessly aware of all the emotions that are arising. There's something about your deep nature, it's just being, it's just allowing, it's just expressive here and now. And it doesn't care what your mind wants. It does not care. Oh, I don't want to feel that. I wish that wasn't happening. And let the deeper part of yourself is, it's in an utter state of allowance. You're already deeply surrendered to existence. Your very nature allows everything to be known. Your very nature is fearless. You are the fearless one. You're utterly fearless by your own nature. Even the depth of pain and suffering that you can experience is allowed because your nature is fearless. It allows all things, even deep, deep suffering, even deep, deep delusion, because it's so strong. Mind's so powerful. It just is like this, like a mountain. This is what you're like a mountain. You're already the victorious one. You're victorious over everything that's arising in your mind, every challenge that you could ever face, because you're not at your deepest point affected by it. Because you can't add anything to your underlying nature. You can't take anything away from it. You're the victorious one. You're liberated. You're the liberated one. Utterly free from anything that's arising. But you just don't see it. You don't always see it. And all this teaching is doing is taking you to yourself and saying, look, and again, the mind, how do I find this? How do I get this? This sounds good, I want this. You're already it. You're aware of the sound of my voice, you're aware of the fountain outside. Whatever judgments and assessments your mind's making about sounds and sensations and whatever's going on in your life, You're just effortlessly illuminating it. Here and now, isn't it? You know? So as you sit here, just remove the tension from thought and come to the place of awareness, you know? Come to it. You know? Be one with it, merge with it, make union with it. You know? It's not saying anything. So release all your stories. It's not resisting anything. So don't resist anything. It's not grasping at anything. So don't grasp at anything. It's liberated here and now. So be liberated here and now. It's your own present experience. You're struggling to try and find something you already are. That's why you can't find it. You already are it. Such good news. It really is such good news. And by realising it, you come to this stillness, you know? You're at peace. Oh, I don't have to worry. I had a delusion, a dream that I was in the desert without water and I was stuck there. But it's not the case. This is the same. It's as though you're dreaming that you're in the desert and there's that sense of thirst, that sense of need and please, help. But it's a delusion. You're not in the desert. You're at home on the sofa and there's a big jug of water next to you. You don't need anything. You don't need to find anything. You don't need to get anything. You don't need to lose anything. You already are what you are. The only thing that needs to be lost is the delusion, the illusion that you're something other than what you are. You know? This great victorious one, endless, changeless, open awareness of the mind. And yet you wander around thinking you're a small suffering self. It's no different if you were wandering around thinking you were a chicken, or a fish, or a monkey. It's just as ridiculous from my perspective. You've assumed a character, person, in the Greek, persona, mask. You've been having a little fun with yourself here. Like an actor on the stage. Playing a role. Playing it for so long you forgot you were playing. That story, isn't there, about Shiva who started dancing. Shiva's eternal consciousness actually. Danced so long he forgot he was dancing. So tired and so exhausted, and wondered why. And forgot he was dancing. You forgot that you've been acting all this time, playing at being something other than what you are. And that's fine. That's what we're here to do. To arise as form and experience things. But there comes a time when the dream, the play, becomes a nightmare. And as I've been saying in these talks, that's your wake-up call. That's existence saying to you, ding, 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 ding. Play's over. Out the theatre. Going to close now. You know? So this disaster ensues. The final act. And this teaching comes in, or one similar to it. that says you're dreaming. There's something other than what you are. You need to wake up now. It's time to remove the value that you're placing on the role. It's time to come off the stage. No, but I need to win. I'm fighting, blah, 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 and she needs my love, and I'm blah, 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 blah. No, it's not real. No, but I need to resolve this. I need to fix it. No, it's a play. It's been fun, but enough. And so your play is your mind's play. It's arising in you, isn't it? Isn't it like a little theatre? All of your roles and all the things that you do and the troubles that you have and troubles that you make. At some point, it has to end. Pull the rug out. Look into your mind. Spend some time looking into your mind. Spend some time exploring what I'm saying. Exploring this perspective and perhaps other people that teach this perspective. Books and texts. And commit some time to waking up from your misery. Profoundly important. Profoundly important. Nothing else in life is important. I promise you. Oh, but. This is the nature of you. You can either walk through your life not knowing yourself. You can have the gift of this existence and not know the nature of your mind. Or you can awaken to yourself. I'm not asking you to awaken to what I'm saying. Awaken to yourself. Turn in and look at what your mind is. Stop telling yourself stories. Remove the value that you're placing on them and look deeply into the one in which all of these stories are arising. The one that's aware of all the stories. Don't waste your time anymore. Because I promise you, you will not find stability here. Everything in this world is coming and going. Everything in this life is coming and going. You try and grasp hold of anything outside of you, it's going to be taken away. You try and build your sandcastles on the shore while the tide's coming in. They're always going to wash away. No life, no reality, know your mind. Pursue something deeper and more noble. Use this precious human life to commit to your own nature, cultivating wisdom, cultivating compassion. Otherwise it's just a waste of time. They say there's no deeper regret than at the end of someone's life if they haven't pursued themselves. If they haven't done the work, if they haven't gone within themselves. If they haven't used their time to become honest and noble and kind and wise and to know the nature of themselves. And they say there's no greater joy for the man or woman that arrives at death knowing themselves and knowing reality. There's no greater fearlessness, no greater sense of accomplishment, no greater sense of peace. You know, you live in a world that's full of things that distract you, and it's designed to distract you, to pull you in, the dreamscape, and all the characters and situations and things that arrive. Don't get sucked in. You know, when you do get sucked in, try and realise it as quickly as possible and pull yourself back. This is why we meditate, really. Returning the focus to the breath, returning the focus to the breath. What we really want to do, what meditation really is when we get caught in the drama of our mind at any given time. Any given time in our lives, in our day-to-day lives. As soon as we realise we've gone down a wormhole of storytelling, we pull back to awareness. We don't allow it to potentiate. And if it does, we pull the rug away from it as soon as we realise. Come back to the actuality of our mind. This is true meditation. Not allowing your mind to take you on a journey all the time. Sitting. That's why these Buddhas look so calm and peaceful, because they're just aware of themselves. They're not getting caught in the dialogue. And there's no difference between your mind and the Buddha's mind. Buddha just means awakening, by the way. It's not a religious thing. It's a word. The awakened mind. No different. Just that the Buddha mind knows itself. And in the mind where that knowingness is not there, there's an obscuration, there's a cloud of illusion and delusion. Stories, a lack of self-knowledge and lack of self-realization. Any questions about any of that? Just getting ourselves nice and comfortable then. Just allowing the mind to rest. Knowing we are already what we're looking for, we can just allow the mind to rest. Withdrawing the value that we're placing on the content of our thoughts. Not trying to control them, modify them, or to adapt them in any way. Allowing thoughts to move through the mind like clouds move through sky. Not the least bit interested in the content of those thoughts. The mind's very sensitive, it'll be firing out judgments and assessments about everything that's arising, trying to grasp hold of some things and trying to resist others. And this is the cause of your misery. This is what's unsettling the mind, not the objects themselves, not the sounds you don't like, not the people you don't like, not the words you don't like, not the emotions or the thoughts that you don't like, but the clinging, chasing after some things and the rejection of others. Knowing it's the cause of all of our misery, we just ease away from this, remove the value that we're placing on these judgments and assessments. Instead, just allow the mind to be as it is, allow our life to be as it is, every sound, every sensation, every thought comes and goes. Notice how you're incredibly aware, you're acutely aware of the sound of my voice and everything that's happening. And that awareness is unchangeable, it's ceaseless. Isn't it your experience? You're always aware of what's coming and going, aren't you? That awareness never fluctuates. Come home to this. It's not something you can grasp hold of, but it's something you can rest into and dissolve into. Actually, all your thoughts are coming from this space and disappearing into it, aren't they? Isn't that the case? They burst into life and then disappear. Emotions burst into life and then disappear. The mind's really this empty awareness. Noticing how awareness isn't affected. All these silly ideas about ourselves and who we are, but when we look, we just find awareness. We don't find male or female, we just find awareness. Utterly free. The mind is the very essence of liberation, it's freedom itself. It allows all things, and yet not touched by any of them. It's open to all things. Provides a space for anything to arise, but it's not affected by anything. You have the experience of emotion and feeling and thought, and then it dissolves and crashes back into the ocean of our being. And that ocean of being is only ever what it is. Oh, how free you are. It's beyond comprehension. The mind is utterly liberated, even from the idea of liberation. Never for a second was it anything other than this. You've always been the sky, with this awareness, this sky-like consciousness. Clouds of thought and delusion move through the mind, causing a lack of remembrance, causing the tragic mistake, the tragic error to arise. That you were your thoughts, that you were the content of your experience and not that in which the experience is arising. Fatal error. But now as you sit, you see that everything's coming and going. And you see it doesn't leave a trace. And so you can rest. is beyond safe, profoundly safe. Completely take refuge in your own underlying nature. Completely surrender yourself to your own underlying nature. Completely dissolving every perception and idea of everything around you, every thought, every sound, every sensation, and even the idea of you crashing back into the ocean of awareness, dissolving into the ocean of being. So with this knowledge you can deeply rest. There's nothing that you need to do, there's nothing you need to fix. There's nothing that needs to be resolved. No trauma that needs to be gotten rid of. Nothing to gain, nothing to attain. No way in which you could profit. No way in which you could lose. So you can allow the mind to fall into a state of desirelessness. Simply rest as we are. And just now, the next phase of meditation, slowly opening the eyes. Don't end this. Stay as you are, always. As awareness. as awareness. Thought, feelings and emotions are your adornments. Everything is coming and going in you. Experience like waves, rising and crashing, thoughts, sounds, sensations, perceptions, experiences, coming and going. In this ocean-like mind, liberated, victorious, free from all things, unconditionally aware, illuminating all things, effortlessly illuminating. Mind is pure light. We call it pure light because look at how it's bringing life to everything. You're aware of every colour, every object, every sound, every sensation. Know yourself. If anyone has any questions about that, you're more than welcome to ask.
What's the relationship with being and energy?
I suppose you could call it energy. It's an aliveness, isn't it? We can't find it. There's a consciousness has some kind of, it is energy, isn't it? In a way, it's also empty. It's like it's an indescribable thing really. The nature of your mind is this pure, unmanifest potential. So you have to be very careful what you're thinking. Because what you think is what you are. People often get caught up in these ideas of manifesting the life that they want and the things that they want. Get your hands out the cookie jar, Sort of fiddling, things you know nothing about. You're better off, as I said this morning, holding this incredible, noble intention. If you want to manifest something, then manifest a Buddha within your own heart and mind. Allow your awareness to potentiate into full compassion and wisdom. Manifest this. So energies, all of this dance, I suppose, life appearing and disappearing. Funny, isn't it? Your thoughts are coming and going. Everything's coming and going, isn't it? And you're just not coming and going, are you? Isn't it the case? Why are you panicking? Why are you trying to cling on to things? Let it come, let it go. This is life. Let the energy dance. And this awareness, the more you sit with it, the more its nature reveals itself, the enormity of it, the enormity of your own self. You can't find your mind when you look. You can't find where you begin, can you? Try and point to where you begin right now. Show me your point of origin. Show me where you end. Point to where you end. Where's the barrier of you? Where's the farthest reaches of you? You can't, can you? You are everything. Your awareness is, you think it's trapped inside your little head to start with, perhaps. Really? Have a little look at it. Can you feel as though it's inside your head? As when you start feeling inside your head, can you feel around the outside of your head? Kind of can, can't you? You're aware of the body arising, aren't you? Awareness is the universe. It's an underlying aspect of the universe. When you're sinking into that awareness, it's not your personal awareness. There's nothing personal about it. This is how I can talk about it, and you can recognise it. Why this same teaching can be passed down for 10,000 years, because we're talking about exactly the same thing that existed 10,000 years ago, that exists here now, right in your mind. It's the same being, the same thing. It's just assumed form. It's having a little fun with itself. And it's obvious, isn't it? When you look at, single-celled organisms, and they kind of come together, and then, they turn into little sea creatures and whatever else, and then maybe jellyfish, and then fishes, and then the fishes start getting kind of legs, and they walked out, and then the scales got more leathery and lizardy, and they kind of started getting hair, and then some of them took off and started flying, and then the monkeys and started standing upright, and then losing more of their hair. And who are you? Your life has evolved. You are it. You are it. So know yourself as it. Live as it. Live as it. Stop playing small. Stop playing small. Allow that to be your present, ongoing experience as you wake up in the morning. It's life waking up. When you're suffering, it's life. When you're enjoying, it's life. And when you realise this, when you start stewing with this, when you start living as this, when you start taking time to know awareness and falling into your nature, you do start to wake up, you do start to walk through your day with knowledge of yourself as the embodiment of existence. And that's a very different thing, to thinking you're a self trapped in a body. When you wake up and you look and I've got arms and legs. Don't know how that happened, but here it is, I've evolved physical form and a sensory system with which to experience myself. I don't know how that happened. There it is. And then, around the age of 18 months or whenever, these thoughts and these ideas of myself started to arise, and I mistook myself to be the body. And I made the mistake of thinking I was the mind. I took on all of this play, all of this delusion, and began to experience myself as a point of contraction within existence. But I'm not that, am I? That sense of self didn't bring this body to life, did it? That sense of self, I was there before that existed, wasn't I? And you'll be there when that goes. And nature is beyond, 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 beyond. Beyond. You cannot fathom yourself, can you? This is what all of this mess is about. This life, you know? This is you trying to know yourself. This is you trying to see yourself. The journey of forgetting and remembering is, you trying to discover what it means, what your light is. And how best do I know my light? Oh, I shall create darkness and then I'll turn myself on. Then I'll get a good idea of myself. What a wonderful idea, isn't it? You want to know something, no, it's opposite, isn't it? So I'll make this charade in which I forget myself, and then I remember myself. Then I'll know. You know? I had the experience of being Cornelius in a body and having a nervous breakdown and suffering and thinking I was damaged and traumatized. That was interesting. And through my experience of that, I know myself differently. Through that broken heart, through that resolution that arose from the realization of my nature within the body. Through this limited, fallible, vulnerable, body-mind. Through this littleness, I see my bigness in a way that, well, I couldn't without this. That's what you're all going through, this broken heart that you have. What's the best way to open a heart? Break it. Your suffering is the crucible of your awakening. Through your shattered heart, you'll shine. It's a cracking of the egg. Shattering of who you think you are, who you thought you were. Let it all break and shatter, because if it can break and shatter, it's not what you are. parts of your shattered heart hit the floor? What's there? What remains? What's still there? What's triumphant? You'll know that thing. You'll realise the qualities of it. All because of that breaking, that suffering, that shattering. Anything else? So try for as much as you can during your day to just stay with yourself. Everything will reveal itself. Don't worry too much about understanding everything that I say. I know a lot of it's confusing and can be cryptic, but stay with yourself, and it'll reveal itself. Walk through your day without getting consumed in the to and fro and the drama of your own mind and everyone else's. Everyone running around like headless chickens. You're trying to find happiness, looking in all the wrong places. And, your mind is the jewel that you're looking for, so spend some time with it, Maybe all day if you can. Perform your duties, but go for walks, be silent. Sit down and be silent. When you listen to music, just listen. You don't have to dialogue about everything. You don't have to have an opinion about everything. Allow all of that to melt away, yourself to melt away. What can melt away, let it melt. Let what is inherent and what is always there, be there. Let everything else fall, the desires and all this kind of stuff. Nothing you think is going to make you happy outside of yourself is going to make you happy. So have your loose aims, and make sure they're loose. Don't thirst too much after things. There's no point. I guarantee you, whatever you get, I'll give you 18 months with it before you want something else. Isn't that your experience? What did you want when you were 3 years old? What did you want when you were a baby? What did you want when you were 12 years old? I wanted every single He-Man that I could find, all of these characters, I wanted Castle Grayskull. I was absolutely desperate for it, and I was, really, I thirsted for all of these toys. And at Christmas, I would just rack my, I hope Santa brings absolutely everything, because I need to get that one. What importance is that to me now? And I guarantee you'll have the same experience in another 10 years. You'll look back at what you wanted now and think, oh, really? And then when your mind awakens, you'll look back at all of it and think, really? There's always coming and going these desires, one replaced by another. You know? What's it going to take for you to get that it's never ending? How long? How long have you been doing it? How long have you been wanting? Huh?
But what if it's not things you want? What is it if it's ability to do something that you want? Isn't that quite good too?
You can have a loose aim, but don't thirst and let it consume you too much. You can if you want, but it's still something. Yeah, you have a loose aim. I mean, we all have our, your jobs, and you want to have a family, and you want to do this, and you want to do that. That's fine, but don't believe that you're that's your happiness. Don't believe that's where you're going to find happiness, because you won't. It's just stuff that It's just stuff that happens. So yeah, just try and walk away from this idea that the pursuit of your desires is something that will lead to a pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. You speak to people that have got no money, they want money. You speak to people that they've got money, they want something else. You speak to people, you speak to royalty. Sometimes I just want to be normal. I just want to be able to walk through the town and just to have that life. You speak to everyone, they all want something else, don't they? Anything but this. But this ache inside you, this pull that's actually pulling you outwards, what you're really looking for is happiness, right? Everyone's looking for the same thing, aren't they? Isn't it funny, you're all looking for the same thing? You might have different objects, but you're looking for happiness. So that search that's going outwards, it's the power of that is actually a profoundly sacred thing. You're just pointing it in the wrong direction. You're pointing that search outwards. Once you get into your head, this isn't making me happy. Oh, I think I'm going to be aware of myself. Oh, this is happiness. And you turn that energy, that outward focus, and that, when you turn that inwards, now you're cooking. Fireworks, expect fireworks. That depth of, when you turn it outwards, that depth of suffering and that yearning, I can't have and I can't. When you turn that inwards, your own nature of your mind, and you into that, well, you get the opposite of suffering. Because you're pointing it in the right direction. You're putting the square peg in the square hole. Absolute bliss. Bliss. And the words for yourself in the Sanskrit, Satchitananda. That's what they call consciousness, in one translation. Satchitananda. Existence, consciousness, bliss. These three words explain it. Bliss, bliss, bliss. Your own being is bliss. When you sit in meditation, eventually all these thoughts drop, and then the idea of yourself drops. You forget you're a person, you forget your gender, you forget you're alive, and there's just awareness. Still the exact same awareness that you have experience of here now, but without any, there's just that, and it is bliss. They call it the wish-fulfilling jewel. People think, wish-fulfilling jewel, I can get everything I want from that. No. They call it the wish-fulfilling jewel because that's the feeling that it gives you. As though all your wishes are manifested at once. Because actually everything that you've been looking for out here, you've been looking for the bliss of yourself, and when you turn in and you realise the bliss of you literally feel like the bliss of all of your wishes being granted at once, because they have. They have. Wish-fulfilling jewel. The mind, the wish-fulfilling jewel. So it's so important. We can't find something like you in light years in every direction yet. It's probably there, but we can't find it. It's so rare. You have that rareness, that state. This. What the fuck? What? How this happen? But it's here. I've evolved it. It's taken a while. So use it well. You know? Thank you all very much for listening.
Thank you.
Enjoy your dinner.